Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey, Jason, Dylan, Mel, John, Pauline. Guys, it's almost the All-Star break. We're quickly approaching July. Baseball getting into the dog days of summer. Teams are falling apart. It's always tough in June because you really start to feel that slog of the season. I know the Yankees are feeling it right now. But the Yankees skipper Aaron Boone is going to be helming the American League side of the All-Star team, while Dave Roberts with the Dodgers is on the National League side. Joe Torre today was announced to be a part of Boone's staff as an honorary coach. So the American League will have one good coach, at least. But what I kind of want to do today is kind of break down who we think should be the All-Star team. Like who we want on our, outsider ballot. So if we start off at catcher, right?
It starts off at first base.
First base.
So let's do that.
Are we skipping everything on the catcher?
No, let's start off at first. It's fine. Stupid that catcher is, number 2.
Catcher's not number 2. It's
I'm saying it's number 2. You have pitchers 1, catcher 2, first base.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
So it's very odd that they're going first, second, third, short, catcher, outfield.
Well, why don't we start with catcher?
That's what I'm saying. Is it makes
let's start with catcher. Let's start with catcher.
We can move it to catcher.
Yeah. Let's do catcher because
we'll start catcher.
We'll do it the right way.
This is controversial.
So obviously Cal Raleigh is the leader for catchers, followed by Alejandro Kirk on the American League side. And before we go over to the National League side, do we all kind of agree that Big Dumper should be, behind the dish?
I mean, how can you not?
Yeah. If we were just talking about him in MVP conversations, 2-3 weeks ago in that episode. He's tied with Aaron Judge for the MLB lead in homers at 26. I think as we're recording, he actually just passed him to get to 27 with a grand slam. So now he's at 27 homers, 58 RBIs. It's hard to produce good to great offense from the catcher position, and Cal Riley is giving MVP numbers.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous what he's doing.
On pace for over 60 home runs. I mean, how can you not? Like any position,
yeah, and
that's not automatic.
I do want to give obviously flowers where they're due for an Alejandro Kirk batting over 300 at the catcher position, and even Dylan Dingler. He's been really solid defensively for Detroit, and these are also really solid offensive numbers for a catcher. But it's got to be Cal Raleigh.
It has to. And if there was going to be a backup, probably Kirk. But I think Dingler, nobody would be upset if he got the nod.
Agreed.
Now moving to the National League side, Will Smith is leading it with Carson Kelly in second. Carson Kelly had that hot April and then just took a nosedive off a cliff. But just kind of looking at everybody else, I know the Rockies are putting out there that Hunter Goodman is the best catcher in the National League. Honestly, don't hate it. What has Will Smith done to really high average, but why not give it to the Rocky guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that from a voting perspective, just when you figure how many Dodgers are we going to get on here. But I also don't like that argument of, well, there's already going to be a bunch of Dodgers, so we should take something away from Will Smith if we wanted to.
I think Hunter Goodman is more deserving based on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, Goodman's got more home runs, more RBIs, and Smith has a higher average and a higher OPS. So you really could go either way there. And maybe it's a little bit of, I don't want to say bias in me, but a bright spot on a Rockies team versus a cog in the Dodgers machine. I feel more inclined to give it to Goodman of the Rockies for that reason.
I agree.
Well, John, you're already outvoted, but we'll take your.
I was gonna say I go with Goodman. I mean, you look at the numbers. I mean, RBIs, home runs, and I mean, you look at the other average matters to an extent, OPS matters to an extent, but someone say RBI is probably one of the more important stats there,
right?
Plus, it's a Rockies player, and I mean, if doesn't each team have to have one player? Might as well be
They don't need to have one player start, but
No, but I think he's worthy of starting though. Like,
Yeah, I forgot that the MLB did that, to be honest.
but
So
I think he's
there's
worthy
more
of
reason
starting.
for Goodman for sure.
and I think those two guys that we're talking about, they're going to be the two. If you add a third, Carson Kelly will be the third. But Goodman deserves it. He is more than deserving, and even if he's not the starter, to be the backup, it just makes
Agreed.
sense.
Mm.
Now we'll go, I guess, to first base because they want to be weird about it. Don't even know their own positional numbers.
I feel like we do National League first because I feel like Pete Alonso is just a hammer. Right.
So
I mean,
Freddie,
he's not even in first.
Oh, Freddie
That's because
Freeman-
Dodger popularity right there.
I mean,
That's it. Like,
I wrote out my who I would want, and Pete Alonso is the guy I had as my starter.
Yeah, Pete is also my starter. Before I click it and get rid of everybody, though, Freeman obviously a shout. Josh Naylor, I think he's a shout here too. Not as a starter, but if we'll talk about a Diamondback at second base, but if for some reason something happened to Ketel Marte, Naylor as a backup, I wouldn't hate.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Pete Alonso's having an MVP-esque season.
Yeah, it's Alonso, and it'll be Alonso and Freeman, and I'm sure Freeman will beat him out for that starting spot.
Which
purely
is
because he's a Dodger.
ridiculous. At a certain point, Major League Baseball should step in and have some level of the writers weighing the voters, somebody they can rely on.
But this takes me back to when the Blue Jays were, good a few
Mhm.
years ago, where it was almost their whole roster starting, and they didn't win a playoff series that year.
So what could
I'm
happen?
surprised that's not happening with the
It
Dodgers.
used to be that way, but with teams that won the World Series. So
Right.
the year following a World Series win, the All-Star team would just be loaded up with people from that team as long as that team was still good come the following All-Star year. Now it's just whoever has the most popular fans.
Dodgers
Yeah.
are that team right now.
But even the Blue Jays are still. Vladdy
Yeah.
is second here.
Now, Goldie leading the pack, Vladdy at second. I also want to shout out Jonathan Aranda.
Yeah.
Having a great season. I'm always going to lean towards my guy in Goldie. But
Yeah, I would lead towards Aranda here personally. And I think Goldschmidt should get a bench spot. And I think if there's a lefty pitcher that comes into the game, Aaron Boone should pinch hit him.
But it's hard to look at Vladdy, Goldie, and Aranda and say, one of these guys shouldn't be an all-star.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I think since there's still time before the All-Star game, Goldie's still hitting a skid. He could play his way out of being on the team.
It's possible.
I also want to mention Vinny Pasquantino that's cut off there because he has some. He's not doing too bad either.
Yeah, the pass ball, great.
I think he could have a really solid rest of June here and maybe catch up. I just think his average is really going to hold him back when it comes to the three guys he's looking to compete with.
Less than 10 points separate him and Vladdy.
Yeah, that's fair. But right now, for me, Vladdy's the third place guy. I would go Aranda, Goldschmidt, then Vladdy. So Vladdy's not even making the cut right now.
So let's go Aranda, because I agree.
John, you agree, Aranda, or
yeah, I like
you?
him. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I would.
And I mean, how many guys are the Rays going to get as well?
Right. And just kind of looking overall at this ballot, this feels like the most wide open an all-star ballot has been in years.
Yeah, it's very wide open.
We had discussions at catcher, both sides at first base. And there'll be discussions for other positions where it just hasn't been that way.
We had a discussion at first base for the NL, but I think Pete Alonso, realistically, if it wasn't fan voting and it was just respectable writers voting for this, would be a shoo-in.
You're right.
I think the only reason Freeman's in there is because he's got the Blue Dodger hat on his head.
But he's also not having a terrible year either.
No, I know.
So it makes
I
it
just,
easier.
but he's not.
Yeah.
He would be the second place option for sure. I just think
Yeah.
he would be a clear second where things stand.
So now let's go to second base. And this one's on the American League side tough because, Gleyber Torres is leading it. Doesn't have great numbers. Good numbers, not great. Jackson Holiday with also really poor numbers. Well, not poor, but poor for an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need a second baseman on the American League All-Star team?
I
None of these.
I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I think Gleyber Torres is the best second baseman in the AL this year.
It's just none of this is inspiring.
Yeah, it's not great. I think you have to go Gleyber. You could certainly make a case for Willie Castro, I think.
That's what I'm leaning towards right now.
You could make a case for Sosa even. I mean,
Yeah.
if the White Sox got to have somebody like
An
his,
under
like
sub-7 OPS.
But that's because he can't bat anybody in. Like I agree. Like my vote will be for Gleyber Torres, but when you're thinking about each team has to have a guy, is there going to be another guy for the White Sox? Like that we would just even consider?
But would he be like starter? Is he like
maybe they bring him as the bench second baseman. My vote is for Gleyber. Yeah. Are you going Willie Castro, Corey?
I'm gonna go Willie Castro.
All right. John, if you go Jackson Holiday, we're gonna be in a pickle here. So please pick one of Castro or Torres.
Honestly, I'm like looking at Brandon Lowe.
Out of left field.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You got the 14 home runs, 39 RBIs, 775 OPS.
It's another good option.
My thing is we just picked the Ray
average
for first base, so I don't think the Rays are getting two guys. I don't think they're getting the right infield.
Right.
That would be my one argument against Lau.
I'm just doing like who I like personally. I'm not
yeah. No, I understand. I just
you can also
that's the reason I won't be swayed to it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for average, Jazz Chisholm would be in this conversation too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he also missed some time.
He missed some time, but he's back now. So I think
if he was back, I bet his home run RBI numbers look very similar to Lau.
So, John, who is it? Castro or Gleyber?
Man.
Do we want to flip a coin for it at this point?
Should we call Ben up?
I think Ben is sleeping.
I could
Man. It's tough. It's tough.
We'll see. I'll get Google to flip a coin here.
Get Google.
Heads is Castro, tails is Gleyber.
Tails.
Gleyber.
I can live with that.
I just wanted to show that make sure that everybody sees.
I believe.
I can live with that.
But like this is a really bad grouping of people.
Yeah. This will be the 9-hole hitter. NL side. Ketel Marte. That's my vote. I think Ketel Marte is one of the more underrated players in all of baseball. I think if he wore a Braves, Mets, Phillies, Dodgers hat, even Cardinals, we would talk about him consistently as a top 10 player in the sport. But he's a Diamondback, and with the Corbin Burns injury, probably won't be in the playoffs, but I think he's the clear starter here.
He's also been like consistently good for a while now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Nico Horner's having a great year. The 0 homers and the sub-7 OPS is a killer. Tommy Edman is in second because he wears a Dodgers hat.
I like Brendan Donovan too, though, as an all-star, but he's more of a utility guy.
Yeah, he's certainly a guy I think they could bring off the bench, but I just nobody here, even Bryce Terang is fine, but nobody here is really competing with Marte for me.
I with you 1,000%. It's just one of the few guys. It's his spot.
I think Miguel Andujar for third base.
Yeah, Miguel Andujar for third base.
That's the former Yankee.
I mean, I think he's having a decent year,
Oh
but I mean,
yeah. No, I was just making a joke
I
there. I think there's probably an obvious AL choice. We could talk about if for some reason J-Ram were to get hurt, where our vote would go.
I mean, who would our number 2 be if we're taking J-Ram out of the equation, even though J-Ram is the guy? Would it be, Andujar? Would it be Michael Garcia? Alex Bregman, who's hurt?
I- The tough part is like when voting finishes, Bregman's going to be trailing. I kind of like Isaac Paredes with the 15 homers, the over 8 OPS. The batting average isn't quite there, but I think that's where my second place vote lean would be.
I would be at Michael Garcia.
I'm with Corey on this one. With for second, Michael Garcia.
Yeah. I just saw again, Yankee bias. Don't like the way he tags. But
No.
J-Ram it is.
J-Ram is the obvious choice.
I feel like he's another player that we would probably talk about more if he was on like the Braves or the Mets or the Yankees.
If he was on a big team, he'd be talked about as a top 5. I mean, he already is talked about in top 5 conversations, but he'd be more heavily in those conversations.
But then on the flip side to the National League, Machado's having a resurgence year. He's kind of been looked at as one of those guys whose, age is catching up to. But this year, he's really bouncing back and, he's running away with it for the National League. There's not really anybody else.
Yeah, I think we have 2 clear-cut great options at third base. Alec Boehm has really picked it up after a slower start. He's batting .285, so maybe he gets a backup spot potentially. But other than that, Austin Riley, it's fine. Max Muncy, again, wears a Dodgers hat, so he's got second here. But, I think I'd lean Eugenio Suarez potentially as the backup just because of the home run and RBI numbers. The guy's been a monster power-wise this year. But Machado's just having an MVP-esque year.
I think it will be Suarez just because of that home run number, and I think
you think they'll go Suarez over Machado?
No. Machado is a starter, but Suarez is a backup.
Is the backup.
Because I think since fans don't vote on the backups, the league and the coaches do. I think they're going to reward a guy like that.
I believe so too.
Yeah,
especially because he had that historic 4 home run game as well this year. So, but Machado's the all-star choice for us.
Now we go to short. The American League side, to me, there's only 2 guys that's even in the conversation. And I'm going to leave
Wilson and Anthony Volpe.
That's right. But I think the rookie's got to get it. He's come out of nowhere, dominating.
He's batting .362, has over a 900 OPS. Bobby Witt will be on this roster as a backup, but I am fully with you that it's got to be Jacob Wilson.
I mean, I want to go Bobby Witt. I love Bobby Witt.
Jeremy Pena, I think, deserves to be in the conversation. I mean, if you compare his numbers to Witt's right here, from a statistical standpoint, I would say Pena's having the better season. Obviously, with Witt, you get a better base runner and better defense, and that's not listed in numbers here. But I wouldn't be so quick to just dismiss Jeremy Pena from conversations.
True. Very true.
But I still 100% would go Jacob Wilson with this batting average.
Yeah, no, Jacob Wilson with the batting average showing some pop, the OPS over 900. And it's nice to get an A in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The NL side is where I wish we had been on. Because for me, the debate is Lindor and Trey Turner. In second is Mookie Betts. Again, great player. Wears a Dodger hat, so he's up there. Ellie's having a better year than Betts. But for me, it's Lindor and Trey Turner.
Personally. Not IKF?
No, not IKF.
To me, it's Lindor and then the rest. I think Lindor is finally going to be an all-star as a Met for the first time in his career.
I mean, you think it's like lopsided? Because
I
Trey's
I
got a significantly better
mean,
batting average.
he
They're pretty
does.
close in RBIs, and Trey's got a better OPS.
I know, but I feel like one with the eye test because Lindor also, he's up there with Trey Turner in the defense. I think he's better defensively than Turner. I think base running
Turner's a
wise,
better base runner, though.
base runner, but Lindor is no slouch. I just think
Yeah.
Lindor passes the eye test.
I'll say this:
It-
Trey
feel
Turner's
better.
been getting hot over the last week in that
I think
leadoff
Trey
spot.
Turner, isn't he leading like either shortstops and hits or like league in hits or something?
No,
He's
Judge
getting
still
hot.
But it might be amongst shortstops. Then he's leading in hits.
He's getting very hot, Trey Turner, right now. I wouldn't be surprised if when we revisit this in July, Trey Turner's got a lot more votes.
I wouldn't doubt it, but I feel those two are definitely all-star worthy at the least.
Do you think Ellie, with the RBIs and the home runs, towering both guys, a higher OPS, like, do you think we should be showing him some love here?
Oh, absolutely should be showing him some love. I just don't think he's, a better, person for this spot than either of those guys. I feel like he's a distant third, but that's still no slouch. And we can still even discuss other players,
Yeah, I mean,
Almost another
Perdomo,
solid player.
yeah, for sure. Betts, we talked about him a little bit. I think he's having just the injury really stunted some of his numbers. John, are you Trey Turner over Lindor,
Oh,
or are you
absolutely.
Lindor?
I'm Trey Turner.
See, I'm also Trey Turner at this time. So our
just-
vote, because Ben isn't here.
How am I the one stuck defending?
I mean,
I
you gotta give it to Lindor though. Like he's actually finally doing like
Yeah,
No.
like he's
Yeah, but
actually
we
finally
gave it to
having
Trey,
a
though.
really good season.
You
I
gave
mean,
it to Trey.
we
But
could switch it if you want to switch it, John. You switch.
I know.
your
I'm
vote
just
to Lindor.
giving. I'm just
Stick
giving
with
it
your
to
guy.
Lindor for finally
I'll
having.
also say this: we
great
have a
season.
Met at first base. We don't have a Philly here, and if it's not Trey, is it going to be Wheeler later? Sanchez later, maybe, but we've got a Met on here.
Outfield
And I
time.
think Alonso is definitely more deserving than Lindor.
I wouldn't even go that far. I think they're both just very
I
deserving.
think Alonso is more.
I would agree with John.
Let's go to the
Alonso's been great from the start.
outfield National League side of things. I think if we want to rank our outfielders 1, 2, 3 instead of just picking 3, the
Okay.
most deserving outfielder, in my opinion, has to be PCR, right?
Has to.
PCA.
PCA. Pete Crow Armstrong. That's where the R comes in, the Armstrong.
Yep.
He's just, the prize of the
so we all agree. So I'm gonna click him.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely making it for us.
Yes. And then do we follow up with his teammate, Kyle Tucker?
I believe so. They are my 1 and 2.
And I think that third spot is where it gets a little dicey. Because third, on the list is Teoscar Hernandez, and I don't think it should be him. I think that's just Dodger bias.
I agree. The way Acuna has been playing since he's come back from injury, he's definitely one of the 3 best outfielders in the NL, but I don't think he's played enough to give it to him.
His RBIs are just kind of low.
Well, because he hasn't played enough, obviously.
But the average is
he's batting
He's very-
400 with 7 homers since he's come in. So the guy is just absolutely smacking the piss out of the ball. And if seriously, if we get to July and he's up to call it, 12 homers and 30 RBIs, and he's still batting 350 plus, I would have no problem giving him a vote. But at this point, I can't. To me, the final vote is between Tatis and James Wood, and I would lean James Wood here.
Do we want to talk a little Corbin Carroll at all? I feel like he's been underrated this year, even though the stats aren't popping off the page. He's been consistent and he's been getting better. He's somebody
I think it's just that average.
And he's a great fielder.
But
so if
great
what you do
fielder,
in the field
but
matters.
the 20 home runs, what is that, a 908 OPS?
Yeah.
Yeah, 908,
908.
2044, 908. When we look at Wood, we're at 1851, 922.
Yeah, I mean, Wood on a Nationals team has been killing it.
Yeah, and if we go to a tiebreaker, we do already have a Diamondback. So we could go a national to try and be more accurate.
John, is there anybody that kind of stands out to you? Any Philly outfielder you think's deserving?
I would love to go with Nick Castellanos.
Would you like Juan Soto out there?
He's fourth in the voting, and I don't think
Andy Pages has actually had a solid year. He should be the Dodger that's getting votes, not Teoscar Hernandez.
You don't want to give it to Michael Conforto?
No, definitely not Conforto. I'd sooner vote for Alex Verdugo. Castellanos, 278, 7 homers, 36 ribbies, 746 OPS. So Carroll and Wood feels like a good debate. If you want to make that choice, John.
I like Wood, though. I do like Wood. James Wood. He's been having a great year.
Dub.
Let's go James Wood.
All right. So to the AL side we head.
And let's just get the easy one out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could glaze his season, but I'm sure, you guys that are loyal subs have seen enough of it. If not, he is the best baseball player alive today, the best righty hitter of all time. We are in June, and he has a 1.209 OPS, and he's on pace for 60 homers, 120 RBIs plus, and he's batting 372.
That average fell 20 points, 25 points in the last 10 days.
Yeah, and he's still batting well way over
72.
300.
I think he's going to win the Triple Crown. We'll see what Cal Raleigh does, but I think Judge is going to win the Triple Crown.
I'm more worried about the average right now because he's been in a tailspin. But outfield 2, in my opinion, is Riley Green.
I thought he was up higher. I guess he's lower.
If we look at his stats,
he's
there,
just above Aaron Judge.
I missed him.
Above him on the list, but below him in our hearts.
Yeah.
I see. No votes for Riley Green. That's that. I was looking for the placement markers.
Well, what happens is when you click, if you change your vote from Judge off, it'll show that Riley Green's the second. So if you hit
okay.
I don't know why it does that. That's really weird. But
because
I don't know why.
Take it away too.
So why don't we take off Judge just so we can see?
Because we know Judge is already there.
Yeah, Riley Green obviously having a great season. 15 homers, 51 RBIs, 835. We do have a Tiger and Gleyber Torres here, but they do have the best record in the AL. So getting 2 All-Stars, and you don't want to just snub Riley Green. And when you look at the rest of this outfield, Javi Baez being listed as an outfielder is just a little odd to me. He just kind of plays all around at this point. I know he was at second today, so Stephen Kwan is an interesting for our third choice as well.
Kwan, I was
Josh
thinking
Smith.
Bellinger.
I can't believe Mike Trout has these votes.
I think that's just
name value,
name recognition.
I think Bellinger needs to be in that conversation along with Stephen Kwan, and
I think the average is really going to hold him back.
Yeah, but the Yankees should get that World Series bump.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees hat will get you the votes. So, so are we in agreement on Judge and Green, and then debating?
Yeah.
So then we're debating Kwan, we're debating Quan, Josh Smith, and Cody Bellinger for the final spot. So
Correct.
Smith is 288, 7 homers, 220 RBIs, and an 800 OPS. Go over to Quan, 299, 623, 781.
You can organize them by OPS too if you want, so you can see, or RBI if that's easier.
What about Byron Buxton?
Can we believe he'll be healthy by the All-Star break?
I mean,
we can throw Buxton in there as well for conversation.
Just for conversation wise, at least.
I mean, 273, 12, 42, 848. I mean, every number statistically is better than Bellinger.
But not the hat.
Did the Twins have anyone?
They don't. I mean, so Buxton's a shout for sure.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Good defense. I mean, today, the day we're recording on Tuesday, he both robbed and hit a home run in back-to-back innings.
Look at that.
So I wouldn't mind going Buxton here, especially when we do consider some of the voting.
But then, I feel like we're just overlooking Stephen Kwan, who's just been overlooked his whole career now.
I mean, Kwan's got the better average, but everywhere else, Buxton has got him.
I mean, Kwan's, I think, a better defender. Strike out.
We're looking at close to double the RBIs for Buxton. 42 to 23.
Remember when we thought Trent Grisham could have been an All-Star? That was a fun April.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Grisham, who you even just counted out, higher OPS, more RBIs, and double the home runs of Stephen Kwan. So I think you just made a case for Buxton by bringing up Trent Grisham.
If you take away Stephen Kwan's average, like, what does he really have?
Good defense.
Right. But then, going back to Josh Smith.
Yeah, I think Smith and Buxton is the more interesting conversation. I think I lean Buxton. I think John has swayed me.
Is Buxton your vote, John?
I do like Buxton. I mean, I wouldn't have brought him up if I didn't.
All right, so that's 2 votes Buxton. Out of left field.
That's 2 out of left field.
I say for NLDH, we go Rafi Devers. Look at this production he's put up all year.
Over Shohei.
More RBIs than Shohei. Shohei's not knocking anybody in.
43
RBIs. Halfway to
RBIs.
be the first Giant with over 30 home runs this season.
So Shohei, we're going for the NLDH.
If it wasn't Shohei, who would it be? And Devers doesn't count.
I mean, it would be Devers if Devers counted. Yeah. Just to clarify.
But Devers wasn't. I mean, Ivan Herrera.
Yeah, so I was gonna say. So it sounds like we're having a conversation between Kyle Schwarber and Ivan Herrera at that point, and 2 very different players in terms of what we're looking at numbers wise. Because Herrera a 315 average to Schwarber's 244, but Schwarber's got 22 homers and 53 RBIs to Herrera's 8 and 36, but a 923 OPS to 912. So you could see, like, when you get down to some of the nitty gritty stats, like, they are close.
I mean, 100-point difference in OPS is pretty large, especially when you're this high.
Yeah, I would lean Herrera again, because especially because we're talking about a backup spot, we have a Philly already in.
Absolutely.
And they're going to consider that for backup spots.
Yeah.
Because that's where we're considering, especially there. So Ohtani and then Herrera.
Would it be Herrera and Devers, though? Like, you just count, I don't think Devers.
I don't think Devers is allowed to qualify for the NL. I'm so confused on this, if I'm being completely honest, because I don't know why they have him listed when he's going to have played like 20 games when voting closes at like most.
I feel like he should get an honorary nod as an American League player.
I mean, if we had put him on this side, he would have been my vote.
Yeah.
So It's just a very odd thing because he won't be my vote in the NL over Ohtani.
He won't. And I think he should be the top vote getter in the American League. I think that would be fair. And then he just can't play and you give it to somebody else. He deserves to be recognized as an all-star this year, and he won't be.
Yeah, unless
So
they
is he
just give
just
him the
done?
backup spot.
Then you take it away from somebody else who
I know. It
deserves
just-
it.
Does he just
Major
play
League
on the
Baseball.
American League
You figure
All-Star?
something out. I don't think if I was the Giants, I'd let him because the All-Star game in baseball still means something.
Yeah.
Because the winner of that gets home field advantage.
Do they? I thought they changed that.
Did they
It's
change
impossible.
that?
They changed
I
it
think like
ago.
a couple, like
It
was it
means
last year or
nothing.
2 years ago?
It's meaningless now.
I hate that.
I don't like
then
that.
let him play
Yeah.
for the AL.
Or he doesn't get to play. He just gets recognized because that means something at the end of his career.
But why not play?
He's not in the American League. He can't represent the team he doesn't play for.
Maybe
He's for
put that
Well,
San
they're not
Francisco.
playing. They're just playing for fun.
Yeah.
I'd let him play. I'd let him play on the AL side. Based on and you know what? Stop the counter right here. If any of these guys can beat these numbers by the All-Star break, let them have it. Stop Rafi's counter right here and see if those guys could beat him because this is AL All-Star. All of this is AL production.
Fair.
So if they can beat it, I'll let them pass. But I don't believe that they'll be able to.
So now that we have Ohtani on the American League side, I feel like it's between maybe three. I can name 4 names I think are in a discussion.
I mean, the choices kind of suck without Devers, if I'm being honest.
Yandy
Also,
Diaz.
can we talk about the fall from grace for Yordan Alvarez while we're here for a moment?
Isn't it awesome?
Like, what happened?
He stopped hearing a trash can get banged.
I guess. I just
don't get it.
We're looking at O'Hearn. We're
O'Hearn,
looking Polanco,
Rice, and Yandy
Rooker.
Diaz.
I think Rooker
Rooker, yeah,
in the conversation.
I mean, I feel like Rice is the weakest link out of all this, and he's the number 2 vote getter.
Yeah, I think that's the hat.
Yankee.
The hat and the expected stats have him hitting like 290.
I kind of lean Rooker, but then we'd have 2 A's, and that's not something I expected. I mean, O'Hearn's not a bad shout either.
And we don't have an Oriole yet.
We don't need an Oriole.
John's Orioles.
I'm very biased here.
John's Orioles.
They're my backup team if the Phillies don't work out.
The Orioles aren't working out right now.
I know.
I mean, the Orioles are like 1 game, 2 games better than the A's. So it's not like there's a big difference between getting an A or an Oriole in there.
You know who fell off a lot? Santander. It's like he got.
I wonder if anybody could have ever predicted that. Too bad nobody on this show saw that coming.
Nobody saw Santander falling off a cliff. Not a single person.
Not one. So are we going O'Hearn for Baltimore representation?
Yeah, I
go O'Hearn or Rooker.
I think O'Hearn's the best out of a bad group.
Well,
honestly,
here's what we got.
Should have been Devers.
Should be Devers. I still don't think O'Hearn will have better numbers than Devers. But this is what we got. I don't know if you want to run it down, Corey. You want me to run it down?
So just to recap, right? Aranda, Torres, Ramirez, Wilson, Buxton, Green, Judge, Raleigh, and O'Hearn on the American League side, taking on Alonso, Marte, Machado, Turner, PCA, Tucker, Wood, Goodman, and Ohtani on the National League side. Guys, who would your American and National League starting pitchers be? I feel like they're 2 very choices.
I'd go Skubal.
For sure.
And then that puts the Tigers at 3 starters. So, good for them.
Best team in baseball, I think, right now, right?
I think
give it-
record-wise.
I believe so.
Yeah, by like 2
It-
games.
Is everybody else kind of in agreement there that they would go Scooble?
I mean, Scooble, Crochet, and Freed are the only ones I think that would be in the conversation, and I think
And I like
Scooble
Scooble.
takes
Yeah.
a big leap over the
Yeah.
other two.
And then I'd go Skeens.
I was
I-
gonna say Skeens
You
for
have to go Skeens.
yeah.
So there's Pittsburgh's representation.
Unless we decide to give Otani a 1-inning rehab start at the All-Star game because his manager is.
Could you? I feel
I
Can
that sounds like
Ohtani-
something the Dodgers would do.
Does
can see him
Ohtani need
closing
to
the game.
Does he actually need to be voted in as a pitcher, or have a pitcher's roster spot, or could he just use him as a pitcher? Like I feel like
That's
that.
a good question. I feel like
I think it would be you're allowed to, but I think it would be taboo because I think there's
it'll be
too
frowned
many
upon.
pitchers that'll be on the roster that
Yeah.
I think like Dave Roberts' like ability to be the manager for the All-Star game may be revoked by Rob Manfred.
I don't think Manfred would do anything that smart.
So we'd have 3 starters for the Tigers, 2 for the Cubs, and then everybody else is sitting at 1 that's up here. Does that
We're
mean
pretty
we're looking at a
fair.
Tigers Cubs World Series?
Maybe very disappointing that the Yankees only get Judge.
Yeah, I mean, there's time for Freed, I suppose. I think like it's not like a foregone conclusion that it's Scooble. I guess just in my opinion, Ty goes to the best player.
I think it's by far the best player. But
yeah,
then again-
that's what I mean. Like
But then
Ty goes
again,
to
you
the
have-
best player, not the better season when the seasons are all close.
Right. And then, Boone's also the manager, so that tilts towards Freed's favor, I would assume.
Yeah, I think Freed will certainly be the second guy out.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you look at, let's take the Phillies, for example. What other Phillies, John, do you think are worthy of an all-star spot?
That are worthy that can possibly get one. Boehm, and then probably Wheeler, and then maybe Sanchez.
What about
Because-
Romano?
I don't. He shouldn't even be on the Phillies. And I could say maybe possibly you can make an argument maybe for maybe Castellanos, maybe Schwarber, but like realistically, probably just like Boehm, Wheeler, and Sanchez.
I like Sanchez. I think he's having a really solid year.
Because then if you go to the Yankee side, obviously you have Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Rice that were in the conversations.
Yep.
But then pitcher-wise, I think Rodon and Freed and Luke Weaver should all be,
Yeah, I hope Weaver gets back in time to really enter those conversations.
I think Goldschmidt has a really high chance of being on the team too.
I agree.
Yeah. But
I agree, especially with his age. I think they could maybe give him the old guy. Hey, old guy having a great season.
Yeah.
Do you think real quick, John, as a relief pitcher, Kirkring could get it?
I can see because he has been doing well. I think he just picked up his.
He's at like a
first MLB
2.5
save.
ERA.
Yeah,
So
he just picked up his first MLB save. I think against that one. I think I think the Marlins was it? I guess the Marlins the other day,
yeah.
or it was the Blue Jays. One of I forget.
But
Everything's-
so I could see him getting in because he's been the only excellent piece in the bullpen, really, really consistently.
Yeah, when you take away Alvarado, it's
Well,
rare for him.
Something tells me he's not making the All-Star
Yeah.
game.
But
But
yeah, I
guys,
can see
let's kinda-
Kirby making it too.
let's talk a little bit about this because, we'll briefly mention the Mets since Ben's not here to defend them. We can tear them down a bit. Mets 3-3, 45-27 at this point overall. They went 3-0 versus Washington and then got swept by Tampa since the last episode. They're 2 up on Philly. The Mets had a meh week, but New York overall had a pretty bad weekend.
Yeah.
Soto's heating up a little bit, but the Mets are not really digging their way into having a solid lead in the National League where they really need to.
The Mets are
Especially-
treading water in terms of wins, but if I'm a Mets fan, what I've seen from Soto over the last 2-3 weeks has me excited anyways.
Yes. Phillies 6-1. They're finally the best out of the three. 43-29 overall. 2-1 versus the Cubs. Then they swept Toronto. Then they were 1-0 on Miami going into today. They're 2 games back of the Mets, but they're up 3.5 into that first wild card spot. John, what changed since they went on that big skid to now?
I don't know. Just got their act together. I mean, honestly. I mean, because you look at it. I mean, Harper's out of the lineup. He's hurt. I mean, Nola's out, and they're both out. I think indefinitely. Like they have no time.
Well, that
Table
Nola
to
being
prepare.
out might be a plus.
It might be because he has not been pitching great. I don't know what it is, but
I don't know if he's been dealing with something all year, but that felt like an addition by subtraction.
a little bit, especially because you have Abel up now, who's pitching really well.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So,
joined the top 100 prospects.
I'm surprised he wasn't on there already.
I
He
think
might have
the
been a few
Phillies,
years
it's
ago.
just I think it's just the ebbs and flows of baseball.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
Yeah.
some down stretches, you're gonna have some up stretches. The Phillies have enough talent that in a full 162, they'll have enough up stretches to be a playoff team. It's just who wins this NL East between them and the Mets.
Yeah.
Now, the Yankees, though, on the other hand, they went 3-4. Their 3 wins came a week ago when they swept Kansas City. Then they were swept versus Boston. 0-1 now, 0-2 versus the Angels. They're like 2.5 up on Tampa. Yankees haven't scored a run in 28 innings. I think they've been shut out 3 games in a row. They've scored 5 runs in their last, let's round it to 60 innings of play. They've scored 5 runs, I think, in 58 innings, something like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna take some advice from Ben Mandel. Never get too high, never get too low on these situations. Panic meter, like a 2. You hate to see a lineup struggling, especially when Stanton is now back in that lineup. But
In hitting.
yeah, so we'll see if a week from now this is the same spot. If I had to guess, it's just a cold stretch. It was bound to happen at some point. It happens to every team. But yeah, not a fun week to be a Yankees fan.
No, but honestly, when a team goes cold together, that means they tend to break out and get hot at the same time. So that means they can rattle off 10, 12, wins in a row.
And I think this lineup was already one of the most dangerous in baseball before Stanton was back and even with Jazz out. So if this team gets on a hot run, you could start to see some, 12, 13, 14, 15 run outings from this team. They certainly have that potential.
Yes. Now, my stud this week is going to be Astros starter Ryan Gusto, 1-0 in his 2 games started. He gave up 3 runs for a 2.45 ERA, 11 innings of pitches, 10 hits, a lot for a stud, but 15 strikeouts in those 11 innings, 233 batting average against, 2 walks. Really, really good outing for an Astros pitcher on an Astros team that really doesn't really know its identity right now. We spoke about Yordan Alvarez kind of falling off. They don't really know what's going on. Bright spot. My dud, Ben Rice, Yankees first base DH, third string catcher. 6 games, 22 at-bats, 3 hits, 1 RBI, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. He's hitting 136 with a 310 OPS. The expected underlying stats are much better, all the ex-WOBA and all that, but the actual stats suck.
Yeah, my stud this week is Ellie De La Cruz. He had a 4-game home run streak in the last week, not hit streak, home run streak, as he looks to make that push to get involved in the shortstop NL All-Star conversation with Trey Turner and with Francisco Lindor. My dud was Willie Adames. Didn't have a fantastic week. Could have used a little bit more from him if you're the Giants and some big at-bats versus the Dodgers as he tried to make some ground. 7 hits, also 7 strikeouts for Adames. As somebody who planted their flag on the Giants on this show, was hoping for better.
My stud this week, maybe to Dylan's disliking here, is Alec Boehm. He had 10 hits, batting 400, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, 444.
He's on my
OBP
fantasy
is-
team.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a. He's
It's an emotional hedge to have him on my fantasy team because when he does good, it's like, well, and when he does bad, it's like, I told you so.
I mean, he's doing great right now, and if he keeps this up, I can see him making the All-Star team. And then my dud is Anthony Santander, 2 for 19,
He
batting
might be dud of the
105.
year.
He might be 302 OBP. And I mean, he did walk 6 times. You got to hand it to at least he had 6 walks. But I mean, like
He
don't
finally
do it.
stopped swinging the bat.
Just like I'll do better if I just don't swing.
Who
But-
could have said he was going to be awful? I don't know.
Nobody on this show.
But you know what else is awful? The Red Sox trading Devers to the Giants.
Who's
Right
that
after
awful for?
Keeping it's awful for the Red Sox. It's great for the
Red
AL
Sox
East.
fan.
It's awful for the Dodgers and the Padres and the Diamondbacks.
Do you
For the
think
folks-
that it's really bad for the Red Sox in the long term?
Well, here, San Fran got Devers and the 250 owed to him through 2033. The Red Sox got Jordan Hicks, who's now on his 3rd team, who is going to be a free agent sooner than later. Left-handed pitcher Kyle Harrison.
Who they sent
Outfielder
down
James
immediately.
Outfielder James Tibbs III, San Fran's number 4 prospect, and right-handed pitcher Jose Bayo, who don't believe he's related to Brian Bayo.
My thing is, if you're Boston and Devers clearly did not want to be there, did the body language, the way he was talking, the way he talked about at San Francisco today, I'll play whatever position they need me to. I'm getting ready to field balls at first base. When the Red Sox asked him to do that, he said, nope, you asked me to DH. Now I'm only a DH. If that is what your situation is and everybody around the league knows that, I don't know if you could have gotten more from him. We talked about this when we talked about could we see an in-division trade with New York, and we talked about what the price would be, and you weren't willing to give up much. My guess is the rest of the league said, we're not willing to give up much, and the Giants said, like, hey, we're contending this year. We'll give you these pieces, and we'll try and make it work with them.
I'm just more surprised that the Red Sox didn't want to eat any of the money, because if they ate some of that money, they would have gotten better prospects, because it would have brought more teams, to the bidding war. And I'm surprised they, went first team that approached them instead of shopping.
Well, I heard they went out and contacted the Giants first. Like at least that's what
Really?
I heard. That's what I read. I heard that
it was the other way around.
What I heard that they went out and called them up and were like, specifically. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean that's what I don't know.
I will give the analysis of our co-host Ben Mandel. Fenway Sports Group spent the money they were going to give Devers on signing guys for Liverpool. They're completely investing in their soccer team now. And listen, if you're Boston, what do you have? 3 of the top 20-ish prospects in baseball? Is that the number where we're at? You don't have to pay those guys right now. Everybody's, where's the roster spot for Roman Anthony? Found it.
It's gonna be
they're
good to get.
investing in the young guys, and they're going to
Anthony
see what
Meyer-
happens here.
Anthony Meyer, Campbell are now going to get a lot of play. They're going to be the focus. I think they should be looking to trade Duran still on top of that. Really, anybody that has value, just forget this season, get younger. Let these young guys get the run they need, because you have an AL East where nobody believes in Toronto's future. Baltimore's window is closing faster than it was opening.
I don't think it's closing. No, let's not.
No. They're going the way of the Blue Jays. Their young guys are not developing. They have no pitching. Baltimore is going the way of Toronto real quick, and it's not like they had an ace in their building that they let walk. The Yankees will always be a thorn in everybody's side, but what do they really have, future-wise? They don't have great prospects in the minors. Their depth is very poor, and they're having issues developing guys. Volpe, Wells, Dominguez have all been underwhelming. They need to go out and get players. They're talking about going out to get Tucker. That's a guy that the Red Sox should be interested in. He would fit that team really well.
Yep. Listen, I think that it's a little prisoner of the moment because it's coming off of a weekend sweep of the Yankees and the AL is open. But I ultimately think this won't be the Mookie Betts deal. I don't think this is something that Boston looks back on and regrets. I think when you look back on this, you clearly had a guy who didn't want to be there, and he was supposed to be the leader and the face of the team. He's the guy making the big bucks, and you can't even get him to play first base for you. He's just flat out telling you, no. You had completely lost the ability to tell your player where to play. He was lost. Is it a good haul? No. But you ate none of the money. I don't think it's as terrible as it seems to be. And for the Giants, though, I mean, as somebody who planted this flag on them making the playoffs a couple weeks ago, this is great. We were just talking about Devers as a shoo-in to be the AL All-Star DH. Like, they are getting a guy that absolutely produces, and that was when he hated where he was.
Right.
Now he's at least happy. He said that he's already practicing fielding balls at first base for them. He's going to DH now, but he's practicing to be their everyday first baseman. So he's already walking in with a good attitude. And the Giants are a team that's right there. I am going to make the prediction now. The Giants take out the Dodgers in the divisional round of the MLB playoffs, and Devers has a big series.
I got a bold prediction with Devers. Power goes down, the average goes up.
It's a big ballpark.
A very big ballpark. He was a big merchant of that green monster. I think he's going to struggle to hit 30 home runs a year now, but I think we're going to see him average 310 to 320, if not close to 330, because he is that good of a hitter.
Drop some pounds, and those what used to be home runs could be doubles.
Yeah, but don't we think that Breslow with the Red Sox was a little petty with all this, where a lot of the stuff coming out about he doesn't like to have people challenge his authority. There was that story about the scout that got fired who's been with them for,
I
half
think
a decade plus.
I think the way that the Red Sox unleashed Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz to completely crap talk Devers on his way out was more of the problem that I had. The GM has to answer questions about this. The front office has to. Former players don't have to immediately next day be hopping on podcasts just down talking Devers. And they did that.
It's hard to know what to believe. There were stories coming out that Devers was upset that the Red Sox questioned his weight gain in the offseason, and that he was offended that they would even assume, say anything about it.
And I will say this. Their big free agent signing was a guy that played their best player's position.
Yeah.
I think at the same time, Devers has a right to be like we're good at third. Spend that money elsewhere.
I think he just felt betrayed by the team, and I'm honestly surprised they waited this long to trade him because I felt like a trade should have happened like a long time ago. And at this point, it just feels like they waited way too long, and they maybe could have got more earlier on.
If they had traded him before the season started, absolutely.
Yeah. So we talked about what's next for Boston, but he went to San Fran. What's next for them? What's next for the Dodgers and Padres too? Because they need to retaliate.
What's next for San Francisco is an NLCS appearance.
Dodgers and Padres, how do they answer?
I mean, the Dodgers, I don't think will upgrade the roster. I mean, somehow I'm sure they'll flip Michael Conforto into an all-star level player, but I don't think they need to. The Padres, again, I think they're just kind of rolling with what they got because that front office and ownership is in such shambles that I think it's almost impossible for roster moves to be made. We talked about this at the beginning of the year, and it's part of the reason that you thought the Padres would be bad. I just think that it's going to be part of the reason that they're just stagnant. I think the roster you see is the roster it's going to be. It's a great collection of talent, And if it's the right time of the year where the bats are going, they could make a run. But I don't see them making massive moves to improve this roster. And neither do I see the Dodgers really.
But it's tough because now, Devers in San Fran, the Dodgers have to answer back. I can see them going after Luis Robert now. I think that would be an apt answer.
I could see them going after him, but I don't think this move. I mean, I know on my prediction, I predicted that in a playoff series, the Giants would beat the Dodgers. But I don't think in terms of a 162 or in terms of talent, this put the Giants in a tier with the Dodgers. It
No.
maybe closed the gap on the Padres.
It's just that the Dodgers, with all their pitching issues, they should always play and prepare like they're the third out of the three teams and just have that mindset of we need to just keep getting better. And I think that's what they have done in the past, and that's why they're as good and as full of talent as they are.
For sure. Last deadline, they brought in NLCS MVP Tommy Edman in what was a sleeper move at the time. I'm sure the Dodgers have another Tommy Edman-esque move in them. Can I predict where that's going to come at this point in time? Not really. But do I think that they need to? No.
Now, there is a certain series that we should highlight right now, Dylan. I know this one's your favorite one to look out for. Let's hear it.
Well, which one? Dodgers Nationals? Dodgers Rockies?
Who's returning and who's playing their former team already?
Oh, you wanted to know my weekly series highlight. I thought we were talking. I thought you wanted to talk a little Ohtani and his one-inning pitch that was hyped up to. I watched more media footage of Ohtani warming up than I saw him actually playing.
One-inning rehab.
Yeah, which, to be fair, John, you did mention that because of what Ohtani brings as a hitter, they're not going to send him down for rehab assignments. So I completely get it. I'm just being salty.
I just think that's overlooked, though. I think people look at it like, why is he going out pitching one inning, not realizing that.
And he'll get to rehab against Washington and the Rockies.
You just throw him out there as like an actual full rehab start against like the Rockies. Like just let him
see it.
Yeah,
just let him go.
Hit a gun in on his first pitch back. I know Garrett Cole said he saw that and felt really good about his future with this same surgery.
Yeah, to be fair, that's definitely a good sign for anybody having that surgery. Corbin Burns now, maybe
the internal brace, the new version of the Tommy John. Ohtani's the first one to really come back with that type of surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you mentioned, my weekly series highlight, wouldn't you know it, somehow, some way, the fate of everything that has happened this upcoming weekend, traveling to San Francisco, is the Boston Red Sox. I would love nothing more than a Devers walk-off against his former team.
Wouldn't that be poetic?
Would be fantastic.
Go opposite field into the Bay.
Do we think defense? That's not opposite for him.
No, I guess it pulls it right there.
Yeah.
But pulls a little defense, maybe first base.
Oh, you have
that would be such a slap in the face.
all they've been doing is slapping him in the face.
I would love it. That'd be great. Just have him come out at first base.
All they've been doing is slapping him in the face.
Maybe make a nice scoop, a Gold Glove play.
Yeah,
I think that'd be really fun. The series I want to highlight, though, Kansas City hosting Tampa. Two teams that, honestly, I thought would have been flipped coming into this season with how they've been playing. Tampa now just a handful of games out of a division lead. Kansas City, who I thought should have been the best team in their division, they're fourth, 3 games under 500, but they still got Bobby Witt, Jack Haglianone, Vinny Pasquantino, Chris Booth. They got a lot of great players. And you know what? They're 2.5 out of a wild card spot. Tampa's 2.5 up as that first wild card team. That whole wild card in the American League, Tampa, Toronto, Boston, those are 3 AL East teams. So I think this is a big series for Kansas City to show what they can do against a current playoff team that isn't the Yankees.
My weekly highlight, I guess this will be for me and Ben pretty much, is the Phillies Mets. So you got the Phillies are 2 games behind the Mets right now. The Mets kind of been on a little bit of a slide here, and the Phillies on the up. So this could be a good series, at least for the Phillies to take back that first place NL East spot, or maybe the Mets, increase their lead.
I mean, and we just talked about Trey Turner, Lindor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not that it's not like basketball or football where they're really matched up against each other specifically, but if one slumps in this series and the other balls out, could be something that you remember when you go to vote.
Soto Schwarber for that 5th or 6th outfielder spot.
Alec Boehm.
All right, that's it. End of the show.
I think Boehm over Vientos.
Yeah, I guess so.
But that'll do it for us. We'll revisit those all-star ballots, see where things stand next week. We won't do a full ballot breakdown until we get to that next round of voting. But we'll check in on who's leading, who's falling behind. Hopefully the Yankees learn how to score a run before our next episode. That would be nice. Before we talk again, the Phillies could be in first place in their division, possibly. Yankees could fall out of first. All possible, but that'll do it for us. Corey, Jason, Dylan, Mel, John, Pauline, signing off.